Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are live on Take Your Best Shot podcast with Jabari Holloman. Welcome.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I wanted you on here is because you are a photographer, and that was what drew me towards you. And so, how did you get into that?
It's a fairly interesting story. So if we wind back to 2011, I was working at the Ford plant. Of course, the Ford plant closed in 2011. So from there, I picked up the new iPhone. We had a bunch of money when we left, so yeah. But I picked up the new iPhone, and it was just really biking around the city, taking pictures of scenery. And I started an Instagram called Minneapolis Eyes at the time. And about maybe 6 posts in, I got a comment from a person who said they were from the Huffington Post. And she told me to send her an email. And at first I thought it was spam, but I went ahead and sent the email. So I sent the email, and we went back and forth. And she said she wants to run a story on my Instagram. She finds it really cool, the stuff that I'm doing and posting. She really loves the pics and all that. I'm like, okay. So she sent me the questionnaire. I filled it out, and she ran the story Monday morning. And she didn't even send me the link. She ran the story, and I woke up Monday morning, and I had tons of new followers on Twitter and Instagram.
Wow.
And I was like, where's all this coming from? And they're coming back to back as I'm opening to add more followers, more followers. So I went to the page, Huffington Post Arts, and I saw that she ran the story. So I read it and whatnot. It was really good. It was really well put. It was everything that I said that she put in there, and a couple of quotes from Picasso that she threw in there. But from there, it just picked up traction. And I expressed to her that I was truly an amateur. Like, I was taking these pics on my cell phone. Like, it was nothing fancy. And I made it to the Huffington Post Arts. So from there, I mean, she sent me an email back. She was encouraging me to take photography serious. She thinks I really got a talent for it. So even from there, it wasn't until about 2014 when I decided to get serious, make it a business, got my LLC, and then from there, it was, of course, it was different. So now I had to learn how to shoot people, and by then I was blessed with a camera. My mom's old coworker, she gave me a camera, and from there it was learning how to shoot. I had to learn how to shoot people. I had to learn natural light. I had to learn how to shoot different skin tones. White people photograph different than black people. So, it's all of those things. It's been a long road in figuring out how to shoot. And that's one of the things that I value about myself is that I know how to shoot. Because I
Well,
started from
it
scratch.
hasn't been that long of a road, 3 years.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but it
not
might
that
seem
rough.
like it, but that's pretty quick for a lot of. I mean, there's people that don't hit it until they're been in it 10,
Yeah,
15 years.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty good.
yeah.
So you got the Huffington Post, you got followers. Did you continue with the Minneapolis
Minneapolis
Instagram?
Eyes. Yeah, I
Minneapolis Eyes.
continue with it for a little bit. I think I just closed that Instagram down roughly about 6 months ago because I have not been active. I haven't had the time to,
Right. So you
just
have a
relax little bit.
photography business now. Do you have a studio?
Yep, yep, yep. My studio is Northeast Minneapolis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do you specialize in?
I specialize in, I like to say headshots and events. Like
Okay.
events, conferences, summits. Those are the major things I love to shoot. Obviously they're pretty fun. You get vital information at everyone, and they pay good.
Okay.
So,
Well, you can't beat getting paid good, man. So when I see one of the things with artists that are different than somebody like me
mhm,
is that I tend to just look at somebody
mhm,
and just see what's in front of me.
mhm,
You know what I mean? But I think artists tend to see something completely different.
mhm,
You know what I mean by that?
mhm, mhm.
So when you see someone, what do you, I mean, do you see, are you looking for angles? You looking for
When I
lighting?
see someone, the first thing I'm like doing it. I'm doing it right now actually because I'm looking at the light that's
Right.
hitting your face. I'm looking at this light from your right, and then there's a shadow from your left.
Okay.
So that's what I kind of when I see like I like playing with natural light and manipulating it and shooting like that. So that's probably the more thing I pay attention to when I look at people. I look at the light, like what that shot would come out right now if I had my camera.
Right.
I also look at like what they're wearing, as far as colors and how that balance out. Like I'll see random people on the street that I dress like really funky, really weird, and got crazy hair, and I'm like, man, you would be fun to shoot. So
Yeah. Well, maybe, after we're done here, you can help me out with my lighting.
yeah.
Because, like I said, I see things pretty much black and white. And
Mhm.
so it's, lighting is lighting to me. But
Yeah.
for you, it's more of a science, I bet.
Yeah, I've learned that artists, especially photographers, but more like all artists, kind of tend to think a little different too.
They do.
Yeah, yeah.
I think artists are on one end of the spectrum, and
Mhm.
like engineers and scientists are
Mhm.
on the other. But
Exactly.
they both think differently than the main
Exactly.
population of people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So take me back. Take me back to when you were 10 years old.
Mhm.
Where'd you grow up? What kind of family did you have? Where'd you go to school?
Mhm.
Because I think the journey to 2011 is
Mhm.
important. Something made you do the Minneapolis
So
Instagram page.
back to about 10 years old, I come from a big family, a very close family. I like to relate my family to Soul Food. If you ever seen the movie Soul Food,
I have.
like I say that's my family. I had 7 or 8 aunties and an uncle. Most of them are passed away by now. God rest. I have 2 aunties remaining. Um, Small in my household. It was myself, my mother, and my sister. My sister's like 8 years older than me. But we've always been very close knit. Grew up in the house that was always in my family. Been in my family since my mom was in 3rd grade.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we grew up on 43rd and Park, Southside Minneapolis. That's where we grew up at. I think around that time, probably went to Hale or Field Elementary. Did the whole trail. Hale, that was the thing. You go to Hale, you go to Field, you go to Anthony, you go to Washburn.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You're a Washburn boy, huh?
Washburn, class of 2002.
All right, all right. So you went there, and then when you got out of high school, you eventually made it to the Ford plant. But
Mhm.
what did you do in between?
Oh, I did everything in between. After high school, I toyed with the idea of going straight to college, but it wasn't necessarily a huge reality to me going to college. And
Right.
I still cannot say why that wasn't a huge reality, but it just seemed out of reach at that time. So I think out of high school, I mean, I was working at Foot Locker, trying to figure it out. You know, really wasn't making much. Bounced from Foot Locker and went to a warehouse. It was a variety of different jobs and whatever that would take, but none of them would give me what I wanted, to give me what I needed, and that's a flexibility in schedule. And probably the biggest thing is just trust me to do my job. Like, if I could make it out of retail or whatever, I think my ideal position, what I was thinking of at the time, was like a marketing position.
Okay.
Something where I can work on my own, be creative, and they can trust me to do my job, so there's no micromanaging kind of thing. But
Mhm.
I also came with the understanding, like, oh, well, I don't have the education to work that job. So, but I've always, like when my mom passed away, we went through her stuff, we found all types of drawings. I've always been into drawing. So she saved all my drawings from when I was little up until, adulthood and whatnot. Even to this day, I still doodle. I always doodle characters.
That's maybe college
So-
wasn't the path. It's
No,
not
it wasn't
the path for everybody.
No, it wasn't the path. I did try. I went to Dunwoody. I studied architecture there, architecture and drafting. I also went to, what was it called, like Globe College. I did graphic design there. So, you'll see everything's coming full circle for me
That's what
doing
I'm-
something artistic,
Right.
something creative,
Right.
something in that lane. So, and therefore, finally arrived at photographer. All right, I like this.
And so how's it going for you with the photography?
It's going quite well. Yeah, it's going really well. I've gotten a variety of different jobs. I've done work for a variety of different people. I do like I said, my focus is headshots and events, but I also do real estate photography. I also do a lot of portraits. I do a lot of senior portraits and weddings and whatnot. And honestly, from just about every job, you take something with it. Like, it's like we said, we think different. I'm always observing something. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting. I mean, I love to see a businessman
Mhm.
grow their own craft,
Mhm.
whatever that is.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if it's making beer to,
Mhm.
real estate to whatever.
Mhm.
As long as somebody's doing what they want,
Yes.
and it's not a job.
Yes.
With passion.
Yes.
It's just, it's a thrill for me to see that, actually. So let's do another hop, skip, and a jump.
Mhm.
So you got, you were telling me about an event that you did where a speaker got up and for a law school, a Vietnamese woman. And can you just go over what she said, and then we can jump on that? Because I think that's an important message for
Oh,
people.
yeah, absolutely. One of the things that she said at that event And I put my camera down because I was listening. But what she said was when she's speaking to a law graduate and they're speaking on the success and where they're at now and, the happiness and thrill of it all, she interrupts them and asks, I want to know what you went through in law school. I want to know if you had anxiety. I want to know about the things that you had to overcome. Did you have to work full time while in law school? She said, I want to know the things internally, how you were affected, and how you got to the point you're at today. It's all fine to hear all the glitz and glam, but I want to know how you did it. I want to know internally, how did that make you feel? So that spoke to me on many levels because that's the way I am. Whenever someone's speaking to me about all the glam and everything and all the success that they have going on right now, I'm often wondering, how'd you get there?
Right.
You know.
Well, that's a message. My father always told me it's not the ending point. It's the rivers you cross.
Exactly.
And you learn from each experience, and it grows you.
Yep.
And I think that's the message she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a message like that we should be giving people, kids, everybody.
Yes.
It's the struggles to get to
Yes.
the ending.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even with yourself, I mean, going from Foot Locker to where you are today, it seems like a long time, but it's probably not that long.
No, when you sum it all up, I'm only 34. And one end it's like, oh, you're 34. Then the other end it's like, you're only 34.
Right. I look at you as you're only 34. You
Yeah.
have so much ahead of you.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool that you got a laser focus on what you're doing.
Mhm.
So the woman that was speaking, she was an author,
Yeah, she was an author.
and so she was also an artist.
Yes.
In a way.
Yes.
She's an artist with words.
Yes.
So you could connect with that.
Yeah.
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 My brother's a musician,
Oh.
and he plays guitar and saxophone and piano and all that.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a numbers guy.
Okay.
From my background. And sometimes we look at each other and we don't have a lot to say
Mhm.
because he'll go off on these tangents about art and music, and
Mhm.
that's all he thinks of.
And you can't necessarily
And I
relate.
can't relate to it. I mean, I understand it, like, about a song. Yeah, it sounds great. But he'll be like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? You know what I'm saying, don't you? And I'm like,
I do the same thing
I-
with music. There's little strings and whatever that I hear in the music that make me feel the music, and other people just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So how was it growing up in Minneapolis? I mean,
Uh,
did you enjoy it? Do you think that you would have loved to be somewhere else, or?
No, I wouldn't rather have been anywhere else but Minneapolis. I mean, South Minneapolis, we really had community. And especially the era I grew up in was right on the cuff of social media, right before social media, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, we had a community. We had a bunch of people around us. Our bus stop had probably 20 kids on it.
Okay.
So, we had nothing but kids around our area.
Are they long-lasting relationships that you still have with
Yeah,
people?
yeah, there's quite a few of them I communicate with still.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the roots of a person,
Yeah.
the deeper they are,
Yeah.
the longer the tree will
Yeah,
stand.
yeah,
Type of
that
thing.
foundation.
Yep, that's cool. When we talk about like striving in life, what do you want when you're 50? Where do you want to be? Like with goals and aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because a lot of times people have success, but they just realize that success.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that I've seen, I'm 53. The people I've seen that are really successful, they have a plan that's
Mhm.
5, 10, 15 years
Mhm.
out, and they follow that structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people that have been super successful in their late 20s
Mm-hmm.
with no plan, and by the time they're 40, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because all they had was that one thing.
Exactly.
And so tell me about, like, you have future plans, you have
Yeah,
aspirations?
I have future plans and aspirations, man. By the time I'm 50, I'm not set in stone, but
No, it never is, 'cause
Yeah,
life
right.
is,
But where I
not
see
gonna
myself
take you
at 50 is not focused on shooting anymore. I don't want that to be my primary focus. By the time I'm 50, I plan to own artist building.
Okay.
You know, I really want to provide that community for other artists, and not that, you know, I say artists because more than just photographers. I really want to provide that community of artists for people, so to own the building and be more secure as far as that. Any work as far as me shooting or doing anything like that, I really want to be strictly commercial.
Okay.
So I want that big, huge space and tons of equipment, tons of lighting, tons of just everything in there, so we can build out sets and you name it, want to have it. So, you know, corporate people will reach out to us for anything that they need.
Well, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
So there's a process to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, as long as you know that process and you
Yeah.
take it, man,
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah,
be
from what
very
I
successful, I think.
from what I've witnessed from anyone else that's solely a commercial photographer, there's these big wigs. I follow a couple guys in LA, and there's one guy here I actually follow too. But one thing I've learned from them and paying attention is that they've been in the game for 10, 15, 20 years. So it takes a long time.
Well, it
It
does.
takes a lot of
It does.
critique, and it takes a lot of perfection and knowledge to get to that point. So, you know, as far as I've come right now, I still got more to go.
Well, that's good that you realize that. 'Cause
Yeah.
some people don't, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
they think that what they've got is going to last forever.
Yeah.
And without busting your ass, it doesn't.
You know, I have a theory on that. And like you mentioned, the guy that in his 20s held on to that one thing, and by the time he's 40, there's nothing.
Right.
And I would say, as much as you love what you do, I don't think you should be in love with it.
Good
I don't
point.
think there should be a giant emotional attachment to your business. I think that's how a lot of family businesses fail and smaller businesses fail, because that was their baby. They weren't able to think about it. If you're in a relationship and that's the person that you're studied on, worried about, that's the only thing you're worried about, and you're not regularly able to notice when they're slipping away, or notice that there's other things that you should be doing to protect it or doing more. You're just very focused on that and doing that, so you're not able to explore other strategies to necessarily save your business. You're not able to explore other opportunities to maybe grow your business or start something new. You're in love with this business, so that's the only thing that you're focused on. And not only that you're focused on, you're still worried about the old ways of growing that business. You know, what you did in that business 2 years ago may not work 5 years ago, five years later.
Right.
So that's what I mean when I say, like, being in love with the business, being in love and seeing it as your baby, having all your eggs in one basket. You got to be able to kind of step outside the box and look back in and observe it and look around and observe when you should move around, when you should explore other options, when you should grow your business in a certain way. Just, you know, able to analyze the things accurately versus being in love. So that's like reacting emotionally versus reacting logically.
You know, for not going to college, you're pretty smart, because there is actually a term for that,
Really?
and it's called the owner's syndrome.
Really?
Yeah.
See?
And the owner's syndrome is where they fall in love with it and they lose the ability to abstractively look at their business.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, you hit it right on the head. That's exactly. It's called the owner's syndrome.
I found myself in that situation about a year ago. You know, so that's what came out of it, was that I found myself in that situation where business had took a fall, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how did it take a fall? We're just on top, you know.
Right.
And so I had to sit back and observe and learn from the smaller jobs that I was taking at the time, and just, you know, thinking. I'm late at night. I'm a night owl, like most artists. And that's what came to me. I said, oh, you know what? I've been so focused on this one thing, one area, I haven't even thought to venture outside of that. I haven't even thought to rejuvenate my website. I haven't even thought to, you know, reach out to more people, you know, just all these things. Like, okay, so since then, that's what I've done. And so now,
That's pretty
back,
cool,
the
man.
blood's flowing.
Part of owning a business is self-reflection.
Hmm.
You know, where you failed, where you've done really well.
Yes, you got to do that.
And you know, I've been in business 20 years, and one of the things that I've noticed is that I tend to treat all my clients equally. Or I used to.
Mhm.
You know, where you'd put in the same effort, not the job effort, but the attachment effort and the marketing effort to each one. And then I realized very quickly, you got to focus on your big clients, the ones that are bringing in the money.
Yes.
The other ones you still do a good job for, and you
Mhm.
still work hard for them, but the focus is the breadbasket.
Exactly.
And that's where it needs to be.
Exactly.
I'm in a different business than you, but it's still the same.
It's still relatively the same.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those relationships count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can we jump into another subject?
Absolutely.
I like talking about politics with some of my people that come on here. In fact, I've talked politics with everybody. I want to get your flavor on we just had that guy go into the synagogue in Pittsburgh, and the guy who did it, is insane. And now we have gun control people and anti-guns, and we have the anti-Semitic and people. It's all bubbling up,
Yeah.
and it seems like with since I would say the, the the rise of social media, the tensions have gotten worse.
Yes.
And why is that, in your opinion? I mean, why is it that um, well, let me backtrack because I just had a thought.
Okay.
My thought is that we've, when Obama was elected president, for me, racism wasn't an issue. I've
Mhm.
never been that way.
Mhm.
But I thought, man, Obama, I didn't vote for him, but okay, this is a new way,
Yeah.
a new America.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like the far right stopped everything that he did because he was him. He was a Democrat. He was liberal. He was progressive.
Mhm.
He was black.
Mhm.
But he was white too. His mom's white. So I
Yeah.
mean, come on. I mean, who are we kidding here, right? So what, in your idea, it seems like it's gotten worse since then, and now that Trump's been elected, it's even worse because of him.
Yeah. I think the whole theory of social media plays a major part into it. I think Trump has played a major way into utilizing that social media crowd as well. Trump's tactics have empowered the people that think like, or I can't even say that think like him because I honestly don't even think Trump thinks that way. I don't think he's as much as a bigot as much as he just doesn't give a fuck.
Right. I agree.
I don't think he gives a shit about anybody. What he does give a shit about is numbers. What he does give a shit about is popularity. What he does give a shit about is that shock factor. I think throughout the track of him getting elected, I don't think he feels that way, honestly, about Mexicans or blacks and all these other, ethnicities. I really just think that he knows that the majority voter and the people that are going to be at the polls think that way. So that's why I think he utilizing his power to bring that all about and to even get him elected. And since then, we just have a domino effect of these people that just come out the woodworks. I mean, we got social media, so we see people recording these people saying these outlandish stuff to Hispanic people in restaurants and to Muslim ladies in traffic and, all these things. So even leading up to the terrorist attack, I'm going to call it, which has happened, it's relatively the same thing. It's like now I think it's two things. We have the popularity of social media that are going to blow it up, but then you also have the people on the strength of social media that are willing to do this crazy shit.
Call me naive, really,
Mhm.
but I figured it was dead. Racism, all of that was dead.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was an issue
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, it may have been, but personally, I thought, you know what? You judge a person on their character,
It's funny
not
that you,
their pigment of their skin or their religious views or any of that. So I don't understand. I'm kind of shocked
Mhm.
that this is starting to blow up.
It's funny that you say that because I was at a period in life when probably in my early 20s, and my mother, she was never worried about me joining gangs or anything like that. My mom was always worried about the police. My mom was always worried about that person at the store that might accuse me of something or whatever. She was always worried about racism. Of course, my mom grew up in the 60s.
Right.
So those are the things that she was worried about with me. She wasn't worried about any gang violence or me getting involved in drugs or anything like that. I was minor. She was worried about that. And I remember, I think in my early 20s, it's like, I forgot the situation, but brought something up to her, and she was like, I don't see how you think that, Mom. I'm like, cool. I've experienced a few things, but it's nothing major like that. But, she, like she said, you'll see. And, over time, sitting back and coming out the air, sitting back and realizing, like, yeah, it still exists.
It,
And like I said, now we see it more than we ever did before. Now
it's the
we see it
most
more than
I've
what we've
ever
had for the past
seen
20 years.
in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't completely understand how people got these views.
Yeah.
Where did people come up being, believing in being a Nazi?
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck did that happen? I mean,
Exactly.
how did that
How
happen?
did that occur?
I mean, seriously. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going back and I'm trying to figure this puzzle out. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but there's a deficiency somewhere in our society that
Mm-hmm.
allows that,
Mm-hmm.
that allows these groups, whether they're racist or anti-religion or anti-Muslim or anti-Mexican. I don't understand what people are scared of.
Me neither.
Because I've gone back and I've looked at this, and it seems like fear
Yeah.
is the biggest uh, part of that potion.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they scared of?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I
Tell
was
me,
just,
because I don't know.
I was just watching D.L. Hughley has a new special on Netflix just 2 nights ago, and he spoke about basically the NFL and NBA and how that plays for you if you're in the NFL and NBA, and how it plays against you in regular society. If you're the big, strong, athletic black guy and you play ball, you're celebrated. But if you're the big, strong black guy walking down the street, you're hated. So um, he really played off that and what he was talking about, but it made sense, and it's something I don't understand. I always just ask a simple question: why do y'all hate us so much? Because we've literally done nothing to white people.
I don't.
You
I
know?
don't. Well, first of all, let
And we
me
still
say,
don't do anything.
let me say, from a very large portion of white people, we don't hate you.
Hmm.
I don't hate you.
Right.
I love you guys. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a black man is a black man. A white man is a white man.
Hmm.
It's the character.
Hmm.
It's how they treat people, how they treat their loved ones, how they treat the people around them.
Exactly.
It's what they do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm sitting back and watching this as of today, let's say, and I'm shocked.
Hmm.
I don't know where the fuck this came from.
Hmm.
Um, I look at the society we're in today, and I'm just dumbfounded. I can't believe that there are, I'll just say, call it white guys out there or white women that still believe in, all of the stuff like you said, the big black man. I walk down the street and I just say hi to him. I'm not scared of him. He's not going to do anything to me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do anything to him.
Yeah.
He's doing his life.
Yeah.
You're doing your life. I'm doing my life. Everybody does their life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey,
I'm not. I just don't get it, and so I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's just weird. I've always experienced working, saying these jobs, and someone will find out or I'm from Minneapolis. And, oh, you're from Minneapolis? Oh, I don't go over there. You get shot. I'm like, how? Why?
By whom?
You can get shot in Lakeville.
Yeah.
As far as crossfire, yeah, you can get whatever. But I'm just always like, why would you get shot in Minneapolis? You think people are just walking around shooting random people walking down the street? That's never the case.
Yeah. It doesn't happen.
If you don't live that lifestyle, your chances of getting shot are slim to none. You're fine.
But
you can go to the store.
Somewhere, and this is the point I'm really trying to figure out in my head. Somewhere this was deep rooted and it was suppressed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bubbling out because Trump has given them
Mm-hmm.
I won't want to say green light, but the yellow.
Yeah.
And they're going through
and
it.
they're going through it.
And I don't know. I think we should do something about it because that's intolerable in our country,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually pissed off.
Mhm.
Hey, I've been thrown out of a car and beaten up by cops.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that happen to me. So I don't know if it's the white issue, black issue. I was kind of a rogue kid, when I was 22, 23,
Yeah.
long hair and everything. So I didn't really fit their mold as a nice guy. But what I'm trying to say is that there's something out there we need to extinguish now. And I think everybody, you've got your lily white people in the suburban area,
Mhm.
they need to have their voice, and they need to tell these people to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
We all need to get involved here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if you're, black, Asian, white, Mexican. We all need to take a stand against this.
Hmm.
It's pissing me off.
I
Seriously.
think a small, maybe even major, part of it comes from. It seems like a lot of these people don't necessarily have experience with black people. You know, there's people out in the suburbs that never actually seen a black person before. So like, the media plays a big role in that stuff, and that's the thing for me. Is I feel like the media plays a big role in a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the narrative that they paint around black people, always promoting the negative
Well,
that happens. It's like when you look at the news, and it's just highlighted different. You know, and the perception becomes different. You know, it's a mind fuck that I see that does happen, and would put those negative images in
right.
in people's minds that never actually had experience with black people before. So they see this stuff on TV and the news and the movies and whatnot, and they grow this perception that, oh, black people are violent and mean and evil and ghetto, and they're all on welfare, and that whole stereotypical thing that comes along with it, and
All right.
somehow grow hatred from that.
You
Like,
spend an hour in an area, let's say, where that's predominantly black.
Mhm.
All right? And you sit down and you talk to these people.
You
And you
learn
will
something.
walk away going, hey, they're just like me.
Just like you.
You know what I mean? Same dreams, same aspirations,
Mhm.
want their children to grow up, healthy, smart, all
Mhm.
that stuff. So I get the point where, somebody in Iowa
Yeah.
may not have seen a black person or talked to him, but
Yeah.
come on, this is America, 2018.
Exactly.
We're not, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
And if you haven't experienced any kind of racial relations, you're
Mhm.
ignorant,
Mhm.
in my viewpoint.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see. So now you start balling this up, and to me, it's a society that needs to really tamper it down and get their shit together.
Yeah.
Because, it's insane that you would judge somebody on the color of their skin.
Mhm.
I mean, seriously.
Mhm.
And I think this president, and I agree with you, he's all about playing everybody.
Yeah.
He plays.
Yeah.
This whole thing with, the border,
Mhm.
and now with the 14th Amendment not letting children with the birth, if they're here, to
Yeah.
be citizens.
Yes.
He knows he can't get that through an executive order.
But it
he-
riles up the people
It
that believe
riles the people. And guess what? What is it? 3-4 days before the election?
it. Mhm.
It's all a strategy.
Mhm.
And it pisses me off that we have this man in office that isn't looking out for everybody.
Yeah.
He's just looking out for himself.
Exactly.
And himself. And I don't think that... now, I voted for him.
Mhm.
I couldn't vote for Hillary. I just couldn't swallow that pill. But I will never vote for Donald Trump.
Mhm.
In fact, I'm going to the polls this Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
And I am not voting for a single Republican because of him.
Right. That
Seriously. They don't deserve it.
Mhm.
Nobody stood up to him.
Mhm.
Nobody. They all kowtowed because they wanted taxes, they wanted this. But they didn't. They lost their moral compass,
Yeah.
the Republicans.
Yeah.
I go back, I'm way older than you, but I go back to Ronald Reagan. And there was a moral compass. Now, he didn't do everything right, but
Right.
there was, we're America and we'll try to do things right.
Yeah.
Reagan failed on the AIDS, where he didn't address it early on, and, I think that was a gay issue.
Mhm.
But he had some of those things. But I think that was his generation,
Mhm.
Homosexuality was just like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah.
are you crazy? But as we've learned as a society, it's again, it's just like your religion or your race, who you love.
It's who
who
you are.
cares?
That's one of the major things. I've seen a lot of Christians bring that up as far as homosexuality in the Bible and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, well, and it might say something that I don't think I've ever read it in there, even though I've read it front to back before. But it also says in there it's not up to you to judge that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I find that a lot with a lot of people that
Yep.
like the reference to the Bible. Yeah,
Yep.
it says that, but it also says,
That was going to be my comeback to you.
yeah,
You're not the judge and jury.
you're not.
All
You're
right.
not. You can't sit up like it was a few years ago. There it was vote no on something for the homosexuals. Vote no, vote gay. But that was my whole standpoint. I'm like, that's not up to us to judge how. I think it's for marriage.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not up to us to judge if they can or can't marry who they love. Like, what does that have to do with you?
All right.
And that's why I think if it doesn't change my bank account, I don't care. It has nothing to do with me.
Oh.
It's not gonna affect me, my bank account, my family. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm
You
going to
know?
go back, though, to the point of Trump again. And the point that I want to hit on is this, the Saudis just whacked that reporter, journalist in the Turkish embassy.
Mhm.
And it would always be in America before Trump.
Mhm.
You go back through Obama, all the ways, I was, Nixon was when I was
Mhm.
first knew about politics. Um, they would have canceled the shipments. They would have, of the arms that they're doing, they would have put some kind of embargo. But since it's Saudi Arabia and we get all of our oil from there,
Mhm.
Trump's looking at it as a business.
Mhm.
We've, we got all the jobs, we've got all that, but we need a moral compass.
Mhm.
Because there's a reason everybody wants to come to the United States.
Mhm.
You know that, right?
Mhm.
There's a reason.
Mhm.
And I think it was mainly due because of jobs and the freedoms that we offer here, but it was also because we were seen in a very positive light in the world.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I think that light is dimming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And part of it is we've lost our moral compass
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
as a government, as a society,
Yeah.
and we need to get it back.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head with that one.
You
Moral
know,
compass.
we got to get it back because there's a lot of things to fix in this country.
Mhm.
But if we don't have a moral compass, we can't fix anything.
Yeah.
You'll fix it the incorrect way. You'll do things wrong.
Mhm.
So, you know.
Yeah. If you're looking at it as a business aspect of everything, yeah.
It's wrong.
There's no moral compass.
Yeah. And if you're doing it in a business, you know what business? You're basically trying to get your revenues up, take care of a small group of people
Mhm.
in that business.
Mhm.
And that's what's going to happen. We're going to have the rich be richer and the poor be poorer, and
Exactly.
it's going to get out of hand if we
Exactly.
don't watch it.
Exactly.
And that's my viewpoints on that. And so I've been really looking at what the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, really means.
Mhm.
And I've concluded, and I'll piss a lot of people off by saying this, but I've concluded that, you know what, if you want a gun to go hunting, a single shot, maybe triple shot, where you can just get 3 shots off, fine. Want a pistol? Fine. But when you start talking about AK-47s and AR-15s and M1s, you're talking that's what the military and that's what the police have. And I know that people say, hey, we need it to protect ourselves from the government. But I don't believe that.
What are you protecting yourself? What are you waiting? What are you preparing for with having
And that's good. That was
AK-47,
that-
AR-15? I feel the same way. I don't necessarily see the value. I don't see the point in having those weapons. Even if you mention, all the excuses, oh, protect my family. Really?
Yeah.
How are you going to protect your family with an AK-47 that you got to get up out the middle of the night and put together and try to go get this guy that's in your living room? Like,
Be able to do it.
Bill Burr did a bit on that.
I have
Bill
to look
Burr
at
had
Bill
it.
Burr because you're the second person who's brought him up.
Bill Burr's amazing, man.
He
Yeah,
is.
you gotta check
I
him
gotta.
out.
I know who he is. I've seen some of his stuff.
Yeah.
But it's.
You gotta check.
I've got to
him out.
check him
yeah.
out.
He basically spoke to the same thing as saying, I think he was going versus having the 22 versus the having a 12 gauge. That's what it was. Because the gun guy wanted to sell him the 12 gauge. He didn't want the 12 gauge. He wanted the 22. And he's like, well, you got to do this. He's like, logically, it doesn't make sense. So now I got to get up, ruin all my walls. Just to gauge a guy.
Yeah.
He said, you got this loud boom going off in your ears, 3 in the morning. Now you got these ringing. You don't know what's going on. And, it was funny, but it was logical. Like,
Right.
it wasn't necessary to have this big, huge gun talk in the name of protecting your family. So many different areas. But with the dawn of social media, I've realized how many things that are put out there are really just marketing.
Yep.
You got
absolutely.
marketing beyond your Target commercial now. Marketing is everywhere.
And
So,
it's marketed from everything though.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's no facts. It's a spin.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a spin.
Exactly.
And you know, I think I prefer the facts.
Yeah.
Let me be the judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and let me figure it out.
Yeah.
So let me hear where your studio is located. Get the address,
It's 77 13th Avenue Northeast.
and then how do people get a hold of you on your website?
Akil Photography. That's AKIL photography.com.
Okay. So I'm going to be coming into you,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're going to do a shoot for the podcast and for my real estate
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So what do you think? Where should we start? I like the ones you did with Pierre,
Yes.
but you know I'm not Pierre, so we'll have to come up with something different.
Yeah, man. Like I said when I walked in, man, I got an idea for the podcast part. I really have a cool idea as
Okay.
far as how I'm gonna design the image, and um, I don't want to make it completely fun to the image and still bring some, seriousness to it. But I have an idea of the graphics I want to do around it
Okay.
right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Because what I'm trying to do now is trying to get your thought process of how you do the pictures. You know, so
Talking to my client gives me that.
Okay.
When the client gives me any type of idea and just in direction of what they want, that's another recollection of mine. Like I have to listen to your client and give them what they want.
right.
And so yeah, I love when a client offers something to the table. Not even if it's an idea, having a conversation with them, I get a general idea of what we should do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the pictures that you did for Pierre were really good, but I think we can do better.
All right.
What do you think?
Pierre probably contest that, but yeah.
Well, you know, Pierre has his path.
Yeah.
You know, with what he wants to do with his branding and
Mhm.
how he wants to be portrayed. And I also have the same, but they're different.
That's what I love about Pierre, man. He knows what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows what he wants, and we're able to knock it out the park almost first try. So,
Well, he's a good man.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about as you grow your business. Will you try to hire other photographers, or are you going to try to pound this out yourself?
You know, that's a really good question. As far as hiring other photographers, it's hard.
Yeah. It's hard to hire other employees.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like in photography, it's even harder because the confidence and the knowledge that I have, and it's not to say anything bad about any other photographer. I mean, of course, I will see what they're worth, what they have, and if there's anything we can tweak, we can tweak. But um, I would like to look at eventually hiring some photographers, like, actually salary photographers, versus right now I just contract out if I need one.
Right.
I got a couple people I can depend on. I'll call on them and, they'll come help me with something. But yeah, eventually I do want to grow to the point where I actually hire a photographer, hire a creative director, and those type of things. Like I was saying, excuse me, by the time I'm 50 doing commercial work and having
Right.
the artist space and whatnot. So when I grow into that space to where I have a creative director, maybe a producer, just to take the load off of myself,
Right.
which really would be it. But it's so hard to find a trusted photographer with certain areas.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same. You want somebody with the same passion.
Yeah, that's
Some people don't deliver that.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, I have found a few photographers before that are pretty good, but they don't have the same passion. Therefore, they're not as dependable.
Right. So I want to go back and just talk about the building you want for artists.
Hmm.
Um, what? So do you envision like having like we have got a police thing outside so, or fire? Do you envision having the warehouse where it's open space and you have sculptures and artists like painters, or do each one have their own pod?
Each one have their own pod. I want my space to be its own warehouse garage type of space. A
Okay.
couple thousand square feet. I want that, say, at the bottom of the building. You can drive cars in there. We can do whatever we need to do in there. So I want that space to be mine, nice, wide, and open, probably 2 levels, so as a catwalk. That's what I want my space to look like. I want to have everything in there. As far as any sculptures or anything like that, like my space would just have artwork up on the walls. But as far as the rest of the building, I want everybody.
So
there's
like a
sculpture-
co-op.
Yeah.
like a co-op of artists.
Yep, yep, yep. So
And that
people
could be
rent
their
their space, whether
studios.
big or small, and I've learned a lot from having my own studio and how it should be structured.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm leaning into now. I've really checked off the boxes, and okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm gonna make this available. I'm gonna trim this. Now I know exactly how I'm gonna lay it out.
Okay. Now, what happens in a place like that? Because I know if you open a business and you put all business people in there,
Mhm.
then creativity about, you know, business plans, marketing, all
Mhm.
that bubbles.
Mhm.
Do you think that the art would also bubble, that people would be inspired by, let's
Yeah.
say, a photographer inspired by a sculpture, saying, "Oh
Yeah.
wow,"
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
then they
Absolutely.
get better and bigger?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been inspired by that. I've done a shoot before with a girl who was a dancer, and once I found out she was a dancer, I said, let's bring that into the shoot. Let's bring some of those poses. Let's bring some of that energy into the shoot. So saying that and having this building with a bunch of people in there, and I also want to have maybe once a month where everybody comes to the table. I want that meeting lobby space where you come to the table and share ideas, whether that be art, whether that be business, talk personal, whatever it is. But it's a community for people to outlet. Because not everyone is able to talk to their family, just like you and your brother. You know what I mean? It's Yeah, he can talk to you, that's fine, but just have that same community of people that you can go talk to and share ideas with and talk business, whatever the case is.
Yeah, I think like-minded people, though, like my brother can talk to another musician
Yeah, for hours.
about a note. I mean,
For
where it
hours.
should be. See what I'm saying? So I think that would be. I think you got something there. I know that there's other ones out there with art studios or
Hmm.
art warehouses. What would separate yours? Do you think? What's your angle
My
as
ang-
of today? I mean, it'll
my
change.
angle as of today would be the community. So there's a bunch of buildings that basically just owned, and they don't necessarily mingle with one another. And you're still applying yourself to literally network. But I think more of the idea comes from like these artist lofts. They do those, and the artist lofts that you can stay in
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, like they do that type of thing. So it would be a small portion of that mixed in with it. So it's not a place that you can live, but I wanted to develop make it a place where they're gonna come all the time, even if
Okay.
you don't have a gig or something to necessarily do. Come in your office,
Okay.
let's keep that energy going.
Well, let me ask you another question. We've
Hmm.
got about 5 minutes,
All right.
and we're gonna be good. What kind of music do you like? I mean, what turns you on musically?
What turns me on musically? Of course, I love hip hop, R&B. I do love gospel too, from a very church-oriented family.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, my family brought the Church of God in Christ in Minnesota years ago. So
Really?
my family is deep in church. We were raised in church, so I do love gospel as well. What really feeds me is oh goodness, hip hop with substance is what really gets me going.
Really?
Yeah, hip hop with substance, and not only substance. Like I don't like all the conscious rap, like going in deep and like Tyler Crowley and all that. But I love like Jay-Z and things of that nature. So someone that speaks, tells us a story,
Right.
paints a picture, something that you can relate to, along with having a beat that you can bop to. That's
Right.
what really drives me. Same with R&B, the same type of thing. Like I don't know, probably one of the most recent inspirational albums for me is Solange's album. That was over a year ago, but she tells a fantastic story on that album. And she has Master P doing the interludes. Like, who saw that coming out of nowhere? So, an
Yeah.
R&B album. So,
Yeah.
that yeah, I really love that album a lot. It speaks on just the story, and she speaks about Black Lives Matter. She speaks about love. She speaks about so many things, and Master P chimes in. So, I love music like that that tells a story, something that you can listen to.
Now, where do you stand with jazz?
With jazz,
Yeah.
I've come around to really like jazz actually.
I have too.
Yeah, I think.
I've seen a lot of jazz shows in the last couple of years,
Yeah.
and I like the freelancing.
Yeah.
You listen to, let's say, the same band twice,
Yeah.
or the same artist twice.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
Each time it's
Yeah,
different.
you take something new from
and
it every
they,
time
and they
you hear a
flow
new instrument.
differently, and I
Yeah.
don't know if it's because they had more cocktails one night or less, but you get the instruments that just flow,
Hmm.
and the voices, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
That,
I grew up where everybody stood up in a rock band and it was the same every single time,
yeah.
and that's good and it's bad. I don't think I like it that much now as I get older because
Yeah.
I like the creativity.
Jazz is soothing.
Some of it can be.
Yeah, yeah. Some of it can be,
Yeah.
yeah, but it can be soothing and very what's the word I'm looking for? Like elegant.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a realtor who
Yeah.
had it playing on they had the system throughout the house, the intercom or whatever speaker system throughout the house, and he had it playing on the real low during the open houses. It just created this,
Well,
you know.
know,
So,
jazz also like crosses over with R&B
mhm,
a lot. And I
mhm,
like that crossover.
mhm,
That's
mhm,
where I really like that.
mhm.
And it's I think to me that's a message like the words and the way they sing it.
Yeah,
With that like passion
yeah.
a lot of it's pain.
Mhm,
You know, you can tell by the voices
mhm.
and the instruments. You can
Yeah,
feel it.
it's coming from within.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I like that. It's not
yeah,
commercial,
yeah,
but it's what their passion in music is. They're in jazz for a reason because
yeah.
they love
Exactly.
it.
Yeah,
Or R&B is.
that's why I think I've come to like really like jazz over the years.
Yeah.
My mother always listened to jazz, but I never really listened to jazz up until the past couple of years.
So let's go back in because you brought up Black Lives Matter.
Hmm.
I've never really actually sat and talked to somebody
Really?
that and I know. Well, sounds like a typical white guy. I know lots of black people, but it's not something that really comes up. You
Mhm.
know. Um, so tell me about that. What is the basis of that move? It is a movement.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
it's a movement. Black Lives Matter is simply saying our lives matter. It's speaking primarily against police brutality and black people being murdered without any cause, without any care. It's just written off, and nine times out of ten, the guy goes free. So that's why I like it says Black Lives Matter because it's simply just saying like we matter. You can't just kill us without cause for no reason and then write it off as if it's just another death. So it's just simply that's Black Lives Matter, and it's astonishing to me how controversial it is. You know.
I always thought it was interesting how we would have, and I've paid attention to all of this, but you would have like, white lives matter and blue lives matter. So everybody tries to
Piggybacking off of it.
piggyback off of it, but everybody's does. And so I, again, go back to my naivety of this is that to me, Black Lives Matter is like, no kidding. But somebody at some point said, you know what, we need to make a stand.
Mhm.
And that's what I look at it as.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't look at it as a threat. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And
Those are the same people that just
you know,
are ignorant.
right,
You know.
right.
Yeah.
It's so I say go for it. I mean, do what everybody has to do. If you save one or two lives because of it, then it's worth it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I don't I don't see yeah, this country's built on groups of people getting together for change.
Mhm.
Everything from you go
Mhm.
back to unions,
Mhm.
you go back
Yeah.
to political, parties.
Mhm.
It's all about trying to make the
Dr. King.
country better.
Yeah.
And Dr. King.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about something too. It's something that has always bothered me my whole life.
Mhm.
You looked at the 1960s,
Mhm.
and what would this country look like if JFK, RFK, MLK had all been able to live their lives? Think of that. I've often wondered what this country could have achieved. And then I also think of those are the three people that someone didn't want
Yeah.
in the way.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that someone is or that group is,
Mhm.
but those were the three most influential people that were about change.
Yeah.
And the people that came after them, they they didn't have the ability to inspire.
Yeah.
I look at the Kennedy brothers and MLK as opportunity lost.
Mhm.
And I kind of pisses me off. I mean,
Mhm.
it really angers me that we
Mhm.
should have been able, they should have been able to live their lives fully to achieve what they could have achieved.
Yes.
Think of that.
Yes.
I mean, if you would have had JFK go as 8 years, let's say, you wouldn't have had really the Watergate scandal
Mhm.
because Nixon wouldn't have been around.
Mhm.
You wouldn't have had a lot of the turmoil with Vietnam because
Mhm.
I know Eisenhower started it, but
Right.
I don't think Kennedy would have
No.
put it at the level that Nixon and Johnson
No.
did. There's
Not at
no
all.
way.
Not at all.
56,000 Americans died there.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a crime.
Mhm.
For what?
Mhm.
Think about that.
Mhm.
For nothing.
Mhm.
You know, and so that's a part of me that those are three men that were great, but they could have another 20 years could have
made a-
changed this whole society.
Exactly. I feel the same way, and I often wonder the same thing, especially with Dr. King. If Dr. King was still around, what would be represent? What would it look like now? You know, would all the bigotry still exist to the level that it is? You know, um, us as black people, where would we be if we still had,
Exactly.
you know, Dr. King as that very positive, you know, leader? Um, yeah, I often wonder that too. It's like, I don't know. I feel like given another 20, 25 years, we would have could have made a larger impact. And I say that because, you know, just thinking of the evolution of time and things that have developed and opportunities that would have came along and just the ability to penetrate different areas with it
Yeah, I think that
would have carried a long way. Another 25 years, able the ability to penetrate.
my oldest son is named Martin.
Really?
Yes, and I think you call him Dr. King, I call him MLK. But I think that that he was inspiration not just for black people, but for white people and everybody because he led and he had a courage that you don't often see in people.
Mhm.
You know, he faced the storm and he wasn't scared.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not going to compare him to Gandhi because it was two different people
Yeah.
in two different countries and two
Yeah.
different things.
But
But
the same
Gandhi
drive,
had
the
much of the
positive drive.
same. Um, he was fierce,
Mhm.
and MLK was too. But MLK was fierce in a way that he tied in his faith
Yeah.
and his. It's a bad word today, but he was a righteous man,
Mhm.
and I think that's a good word.
Mhm.
You have to be righteous.
Yes.
And he looked at the world like I like to look at it, I think. You
Mhm.
know, no color.
Me too.
It's character.
Yeah.
It's who you are as an
Yeah.
individual. And I don't,
Just simply saying we should not have to be here.
well,
You know,
beware.
we should not have to be at this point where we have
Exactly.
to
That's what I was hoping you were
fight
saying.
for human rights, for civil
Well,
rights.
it's human
for-
dignity, too. It's
Yeah.
dignity
Yeah.
that needs to be involved in this
Mhm.
because each person has a value.
Mhm.
You know, and as I told you at the beginning of the show, this show is about finding the commonality between us all, the normal people.
Yeah.
You know, we have, podcasts out there that only deal with the famous people and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And I want to see people that are striving for the betterment of their own life, their children's lives, people around them.
Mhm.
Because I think that story is huge.
Mhm.
Because the more of us out there, and we can all put it together, and we all have the same message, that there's some power in that.
Mhm.
We're not going to be, Dr. King or, something like that. But you know what? We touch 10 people's lives and show them that, you know what, bigotry or racism or that's not acceptable.
Mhm.
We've done our job.
Mhm.
Because then that 10 will turn into
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's a part of the show. And I think that the mission of ordinary people doing extraordinary things,
Yeah.
I think you do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
You got a lot of positive in you, and I feel it. And in fact, I think this is the best podcast I've had. You know what I mean? You've got a lot going for you, man, and
Thank
just
you.
keep on pushing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And keep on
Everything's
changing and adapting and
Every day is a learning experience for me, man.
Yeah.
Whether that be internally or
you're going to be
spiritually
successful.
whatever
I have a
it
good
is.
feel about when people are going to be successful, and you have to define success,
Right.
in your own terms.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But you will be. I can
Thank
feel
you.
it.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not in the military, so you can't call me sir. But I think I you are going to do well. Just keep the positive going forward and
Yeah.
follow your beliefs,
Yeah.
because that's what you got to do. And
Yeah.
I think that you are a damn good man.
Thank you.
So with that, I appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for
And,
having me.
what was the website again?
Akil, AKIL, photography.com.
And I would pitch you because I saw your stuff and it is that good. We're going to put one of the pictures that you sent me up during the podcast, and people can see for themselves. And they should go to you if they want any kind of services that you've outlined, because,
Yes.
man, you are good.
Yes, thank you.
And you know what? At the end of the day, if you get a bad photographer, you can't go back and react it, can you?
No, there's no second shot.